Janelle, he sighed. Listen, I wish I had 1/10 of your fashion sense. He smiled, looking in the mirror at her standing behind him. I wish that too. Those Jesus sandals you keep wearing have to go. Danielle playfully slapped his shoulder. Hey, I'm trying to be supportive. In reality, she shouldn't have been there, and Bennett would give her a lecture if he knew where she was. Danielle was the island nurse, and she was supposed to be impartial, even for a silly fashion show. She couldn't help that Morty had become like family to her. Many people said that, but didn't really mean it. She meant it. He was like the grandfather she never had, but better. Maybe he'd have been the cool uncle. I hope the weather isn't going to mess up the show, he said, trying on a new hat with a feather sticking out of the side of it. Danielle had to wonder where he got this stuff. Me too. They say the hurricane could hit this area head-on, but that's at least a week away, so it could change. Tell that Bennett not to reschedule my catwalk debut. My little heart couldn't take the devastation. He held his hand to the center of his chest and faked fainting, falling onto the bed behind him. Did you take drama in school? It seemed like an obvious question, with an even more obvious answer. Morty laughed as he continued to lie on his back, looking up at the ceiling. Lord, no. I was very shy back in those days. I didn't quite know who I was yet. I mean, I was very outgoing in my mind, but I realized early on that it was too much for some people. She sat down next to him. So you made yourself smaller because you feared what other people thought of you? He sat up and put his finger on his chin. I suppose you're right in that assertion. Hey, maybe that's why I'm so short. Danielle rolled her eyes. I'm being serious. I know. I just don't like talking about all the serious stuff. Life's too short. Morty, you're a character, she said, laughing as she bumped her shoulder against his. Bennett sat at his desk, a stack of papers calling his name out of the corner of his eye. Wisteria Island wasn't his only business, so he spent a lot of his days watching his stock portfolio and managing his other businesses. Thankfully, he had good people running most of them, and he wasn't nearly as hands-on with them as he was with the island. Wisteria Island had his heart almost as much as Danielle did. Their relationship in the last few months had grown into something he didn't even know was possible. They ran the island together, caring for each resident like they were family. He adored watching her work with the residents. Her devotion to their health care was admirable, and he'd seen so many of them get better under her care. However, caring for an island of older people who were only aging faster by the day had brought a new concern to light. Danielle was only one person, and as some residents required greater care, she was getting exhausted. They rarely went on actual dates, on or off the island. Danielle would get a call at all hours of the night, and her days were filled with office visits and house calls. Bennett hadn't taken the idea of aging into account when he decided to have one nurse on the island. His mind hadn't gone to the idea that some residents would need more care, more time, and more medical procedures. He had two options: bring in more help, or force residents to move off the island right when they needed their support system most. It didn't seem fair or right to send them to awful nursing homes on the mainland just because they couldn't care for themselves at all anymore. So he decided to hire 2 new people. First would be a caregiver job, who would be to take care of the sickest residents. These were the people who would normally be in assisted living, memory care, or a nursing home. The caregiver would mainly help with medications, feeding, and transportation to and from medical appointments. Bennett had found a wonderful, experienced woman named Elise, and she was already working with a few residents who needed her. Today, he was interviewing a doctor for the island. After resisting it for so long, Bennett could now see that a full-time